how can I make our family more money without it taking more time from me? Is there such a thing as giving away too much for free? I don't ever want to give away so much to my followers that my clients feel a little bit slighted. Well, hey, my friends, welcome back to the podcast. We're going to be talking today about why I have made the decision to stop recording so many podcasts, why we are actually going to go to half of the episodes that I have been doing for years. So originally this was going to be episode 398. However, I decided to sneak in a podcast about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and 10 things we can learn as business people about their romance. Is that their thing, their relationship? All the things that have happened in the last week or so. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go listen to that also when you're done here. But let's talk about my podcast. Okay. So let me just give you just a little bit of like backstory in terms of like, not from a strategic standpoint as to why I'm cutting my podcast in half, but just like about me in general. Okay. So for those of you who you are new to my podcast or new to me as a coach, I'm 52 years old. Turns out I don't want to work forever and ever. And so we live in Kansas City full time. We also have a home in Florida. You can find it on Instagram. It's Bougie on the Beach, spelled Bouj for Jennifer and Jason, EE, Bougie on the Beach. Then we have another in Arizona, Bougie in the Desert. And we like to travel to both of those places. And at 52, we've earned the right, to do that. We have two sons that live one in Scottsdale, one in Phoenix. So we like to go out there to visit with them. And the truth is, like, I have never desired to work 60 hours a week. I've never desired to work 40 hours a week. If I can make in 20 hours a week what other people make or make more than in 40 and 60, like, why would I just want to work that much? And the truth is, anytime I see someone who is an overworker, I always kind of pause and I wonder, are they hiding from something? Is there something they're avoiding? Because I've done a podcast on this before, especially as women. Sometimes when we overwork, it's because we feel like we're good at our job. We know what's expected of us at our job. We know how to run our company, even if it's just us in it. We get wins there. And sometimes it's easier for us to feel like we're getting a win at work than it is for us to feel like we're getting a win at home. And that's just the honest to goodness truth. And so when I've watched other women who I know that they're like working to the detriment of their marriage or working to the detriment of their family and raising their children, I'm always curious as to why. And not that I'm, brilliant at being a wife or a mom, but I can tell you 100% for sure. My goal has always been, how can I make our family more money without it taking more time from me? That has always been my goal. Everybody here at Team Allwood will tell you the same thing. And what I love about my team is they literally come up under me and support that. I can remember back when I owned my painting company, and I would feel really guilty about, like, if I had the kids at the pool and I knew that I had a team of, 5, 6, 8 women out in the field painting, I'd feel bad because I'd feel like they're thinking I'm not working. Forgetting that when you are the visionary, when you are the entrepreneur, when it is your business, when you're the business owner, like, working for you is not just sitting in your office. You are also carrying the weight of payroll, and you're carrying the weight of taxes, and you're thinking about things when you're at the movies on a Friday night, and you're thinking about things as you're driving and in the shower. And so, like, you're not just working when you're in your desk. And so I love that my team is also trying to figure out, how can we help Jen like pull back on anything that she doesn't have to do, so she can just stay laser focused on the things she does have to do, and we can help her with everything else. So I love that. So if my goal is always to like make more dollars in less time, that means I really have to focus on like what is actually generating money for our business. And so last week I approached my team about scaling back the Jennifer Allwood show from having 2 episodes every week just down to 1. And so we are going to actually do that. We had a great conversation, and we're going from 2 episodes every week down to 1. I don't know if it'll be on Mondays. I don't know if it'll be on Wednesdays. I don't know if my team's going to like test out which of those days seem to get the most downloads. If you are listening to this on a podcast app and want to send me a DM on Instagram and let me know, like, would you prefer a Monday podcast from me, a Monday morning or Wednesday morning? If you are watching this on YouTube, I'd love to know in the chat below what time are you most likely to listen to a podcast? I'm really leaning towards Wednesday, but I'd love to have you guys chime in below. So we are going, cutting my podcasts in half, essentially. And so some thoughts about that, okay? One of the reasons I wanted to do this is that recording 2 podcasts in a week's time, it's a lot. And I've done this for over 6 years. As a typical creative, we tend to get bored sometimes and just need some things to like jazz it up. Jazz it up. I have well over 550 episodes at this point, because some of you may remember when I did the podcast every Wednesday, and then I had something on Mondays called Monday Fire. And we had like 150 episodes of that. And we're at almost 400 episodes of this. So that's a lot of episodes. Okay. Can I just say it's a lot of episodes? If you guys listened to my interview with John Acuff, the author John Acuff, just a few weeks ago, he was saying that it's like 3% or something like that, maybe 5%, I can't remember, of people who begin a podcast actually get past having 3 episodes ever. So he's like, you have literally nailed it. So I'm really proud of my consistency. I'm really proud of my team's consistency. But the truth is, like, as I try to do less, this is one of those things that I think I can do less. So it's a lot of time and it's a lot of money. I mean, it's not a ton of money, but still it is money when you think about the fact that I have a podcast editor. So, we're paying the editor, we're paying people on my team to write notes. We're paying them to, put things in different places. We're paying my son, Easton, to upload it to our YouTube channel. And so it does cost something. And so, without it being something that actually generates revenue. Now, you could make the argument that, but do people listen to your podcast and become clients? And my hope is that that's the case. We have always used the podcast as seed planting. We have always used the podcast at engaging with my potential clients, hoping that they will, come into my monthly group or in my mastermind or something. But, it's also kind of hard to like determine that, because it's impossible to get podcast statistics. Wow, that was a mouthful. Podcast statistics. Did I still say it wrong? Podcast statistics. Say that 3 times. That basically it's hard unless we were to interview every person that comes into my coaching group and say, hey, new mastermind person, like, where did you first hear about me? And a lot of times people can't remember. Was it the podcast? Was it Instagram? Like, they just don't know, right? So it's hard to track how many people are actually coming into my coaching strictly because of the podcast. And so, that's something that I've been pondering. And then last week I got a really interesting DM. Now, I'm going to tell you about the DM, but I just want to preface this at first by saying, if the sweet, precious woman who sent me this DM, if you are listening to this podcast right now, please know that I'm throwing no shade at you whatsoever. I'm literally using this just as to basically show people kind of my thinking and my reasoning. And you were a part of that, and you helped me make a decision that I already knew that I wanted to make. Okay, so please know that this is nothing bad against you. This is actually really good. So last week I got a DM while I was in Dallas, and we had a 2-day event in Dallas teaching my Better Way program. We were teaching it live with a group of women who are in the program and a group of my mastermind women. And I was also spending a day in Dallas in a recording studio, recording a whole new coaching program for you guys, which was awesome. And so, and in the evenings, I check my DMs and stuff. And I had a DM from a woman, and she basically said, like, she had reached out to me before. We had no prior conversation on Instagram, but she basically said she just wanted to thank me for, how much I've taught her. And I think she said she launched her business, or maybe she launched something. And she, the part that got me though, is she said, I'm so grateful for how much I've learned from you, and I've never even paid you a penny. And when I read that, she never paid me a penny. Like, she thought that she was like complimenting me, when in actuality, I like gave me great pause. And then she did actually come back like the next day, was like, I worded that totally wrong. And her and I are great. I think she's precious and all the things, but it made me ponder on something that I'd already been thinking about. So I've already had this thought of like, when I am trying to make sure I'm staying in my lane and I'm doing the things here at Team Allwood that only I can do, and we have revenue goals that both we want to make, revenue goals we have to make. When we have goals for the future, when I know about the new software that we're about to launch, hint, hint, hint. When I'm thinking about all of those things, and then, I'm thinking about like, is there such a thing as giving away too much for free? because I started thinking, I would never want my clients who are paying me a lot of money to be in my mastermind every single year, to think to themselves, gosh, I could just listen to Jen's podcast and get all this. Like when I thought about it from that point, I'm like, whoa. Now listen, I do understand when people come into my coaching groups, they're not just paying for the information they're getting in a podcast. They're also paying for, the hand holding and for the mindset training and for proximity to myself and my team. And they're paying for software and they're paying for a VA. And so I know all of that, but I pause because I'm like, I don't ever want to give away so much to my followers that my clients feel a little bit slighted. My clients are investing in me and I want to make sure they know I'm investing in them right back. I, interestingly enough, had a DM last week also from a woman who just started a new social media page for for a cause that I definitely support. And she asked me if I would share a brand new course of hers. And I said, no. I said, I love what you're doing, but I only share the content of friends or of people who are in my coaching group, because I want to see them be successful too. And so anyhow, so I approached my team last week and I said, there was a season where the 2 podcasts worked really well. And we were really hyper-focused on the number of downloads we were getting. And we're at well over 6 million. In fact, we hit 6 million kind of like on the slide. We didn't even know that we did it, like last month, and which I think is really, really funny. So we're heading to 7 million downloads right now. We've got almost 2,000 reviews. And by the way, every time you guys go over to Apple and you leave a review, that's how some people determine whether or not they want to have me like on their podcast, because they'll go see, well, how much traffic does she get at her podcast? And they can't see that I've had 6 million downloads, but what they can see is the 1,900-ish reviews that we've had. So that would lend them to think, okay, she's been doing this a while. She's got a decent following. Maybe we'll have her on. Do you know what I'm saying? So thank you for doing that. But there was a season, the 2 podcasts worked really well, and I think were necessary. But I don't want you guys to be afraid to change something when you recognize in your business that either A, like you just don't really want to do it anymore. I don't really want to do 2 of these in a week anymore. I just don't. Turns out I love my husband and children. I love spending time with them. And so I just want to go down to 1. But so part of that is I just don't love it anymore. But the other thing is when you figure out something that's no longer serving you or your business in the way that it used to, like shift it. And I know entrepreneurs, they're so nervous about doing that. I will just say, my first business coach was Sandy Krakowski, and I always try to give honor where honor is due. And so I think I don't think it's biblical. And so I'm going to tell you something that Sandy showed me, and she didn't even know that she was showing me. And I'm guessing some of the other people in her coaching groups learned from her as well. But Sandy was quick to shift, meaning if she, was having health issues, which she did for a couple of years when I was in her group, she would shift. She would close things down or change things up or whatever, so that she could support her, her body and things. When she was tired of doing things one way, she'd shift a group or switch or whatever. And so in the moment, it probably then, because that was, 8-10 years ago, gave me pause. It's like, I can't believe I paid for this and she's shifting to this. On the other side of that, I am so stinking grateful for that example, because she was quick to shift and pivot when she realized the market had changed, she had changed, what people needed had changed, or her desires had changed. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get ourselves into like a rhythm and a habit, and we're afraid to shift it for fear that people are going to be upset. It always comes back to that fear of man, which is a trap. And Sandy was like, I'm shifting like crazy. I'm just shifting like crazy. And that was such a great lesson to me. And so I've shifted a lot of things in our company this year. We've shifted people. We've shifted seats that they're in. I've gotten rid of life coaching. We're getting rid of 1 podcast a week. Like we are kind of like, we're simplifying the heck out of my business so that I can focus on the things that I really want to and the things that I am really good at. So if I'm looking at just focusing on income generating activities, I just want to put additional time into my coaching and less time into free content on a podcast app. So my team was in complete agreement. We're going to be going down to 1 episode really, really soon. And I know that will disappoint some people. And, and the truth is, like, if that's disappointing you, get into one of my coaching groups. Go to Creators Inner Circle right now and join one of my groups. Don't be one of those people who's like, I've learned so much from you for free. If you learned that much from me for free, imagine what you would actually learn inside of one of my paid groups where I am able to coach at a completely different level. I hope that makes sense. So listen, we do have a really good freebie that my team did want me to mention at the end of this because they put a lot of hard work into it. And it's a podcast playlist for those of you who are like, she's going down to less episodes. Okay, yes, but I have a million episodes you can listen to. If you go to jenniferallwood.com/podcast playlist, there's a 30 to 60 second quiz. Okay, it's super fast, but it's basically going to figure out what season of business you're in. And it's going to email you a bunch of podcasts that I've already made that you should listen to versus just you going to Apple or Spotify or whatever and searching for a good topic. So go to jenniferallwood.com/podcast playlist. And thanks guys for being here. You'll still get great content out of me on the one time a week that I'm doing an episode, but I am excited and delighted. And so I just kind of wanted to take you behind the scenes at what caused us as a team to make this decision, because my hope is that those of you who I am coaching, you also see me modeling for you, shifting and pivoting when I need to, or when it makes sense, that gives you permission to do that yourself in your own business. And so hopefully too, that you've just learned something from this episode. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'd love it if you left a comment below. If you've never left the podcast a review, would you go do that too? I was looking the other day, I think we're just shy of a 5-star review, like overall in like almost 1,900 reviews. And I'm like, who's bringing down that average? I'm kidding. But leave us a review if you've never done that. I would appreciate it so much. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, friends. Bye-bye.